Okay, so yeah, there's two of us here today. Hannah was unfortunately not able to make it, so myself, Chris, and Dilesh. So we're up in Betsy Cadwallader University Health Board. We work in a multidisciplinary pain management service. So we see lots of people with lots of pain that's been going on for a long period of time, and what we find and what the literature shows is that up to 90% of people who have chronic pain will complain of difficulties with sleep, which is perhaps not surprising at all. What might be surprising is that the relationship between pain and sleep goes both ways, and actually the effect of sleep loss on increasing pain is greater than the effect of pain on sleep, and that's the thing that I think people are often surprised by. And I think we were when we dug into this a little bit, because we asked people about sleep, and we've always asked people about sleep, but we haven't really formally done anything about it. Our approach to helping people with sleep has been sort of rather piecemeal and ad hoc, really. The most sort of formal input they get on sleep is if they do the pain management program, but in one-to-one sessions, it's more a case of whether it comes up or not. It's not sort of routinely dealt with. So there is a hole there, really, and given the strength of the effect of sleep loss on pain, we really thought that we should do something about it. So that's the background to it. So as I say, pain and sleep, two-directional relationship. Pain obviously would interfere with sleep, though less than you might think. A lot of the literature shows that there's a greater relationship with people's distress about pain than there is with the severity of the pain as they report it. So the more distressed they are, the more likely they are to sleep badly. So that's quite interesting. Very severe pain can wake people up if they get real jolts of pain, but more sort of continuous aching pain, less so, because we are somewhat anaesthetized in certain phases of sleep, particularly. So the aims of what we're trying to do are around this, really, that the research shows that quite naturally, if people's sleep does start to go wrong, then as human beings, we're sort of problem-solving creatures. So we naturally try and do something about it. We try and make it better. So people naturally drift towards the sort of behavioural things that might help sleep, what are termed, perhaps slightly unfortunately, sleep hygiene rules. But if you think about it, it's a kind of, often it's trying to make it happen. We're doing something. We're trying to make sleep happen. So people naturally try and make themselves sleep. A lot of advice about sleep seems to be about trying to make it happen, setting up these behavioral rules, setting times that you go to sleep, setting times that you get up, making sure you don't have any caffeine, doing relaxation exercises, this kind of thing. And even if you look at the therapy, and the sort of recommended therapy according to NICE is CBTI, because that has the most evidence for it. So that's cognitive behavioral therapy with an emphasis on insomnia. It's still, although the CBTI literature acknowledges that good sleepers don't really do anything about going to sleep, they suddenly then give all these things that you can do to go to sleep. And it's kind of a mixed message, really. And it works. It does have an evidence base. So obviously it works for some people. So I think some people are able to do these things with a sufficiently light touch that, you know, it does help them to go to sleep naturally. But if you get too much into the idea of doing and trying to make sleep happen, as we all know, anyone who's laid in bed in the early hours of the morning and tries to force themselves to go to sleep, it just ain't going to happen, is it? And you know, the fact is that good sleepers don't do anything. They basically just let it happen. And, you know, that's how we all start off. We're all naturally able to sleep. And, you know, until it becomes a problem, it's something we don't think about. We just let it happen. So that being the case, we thought, well, you know, the ideal scenario would be to try and get people back to that position that they were in before of just being good sleepers, being able to just let it happen, you know. So we wanted to make an intervention that did that, rather than think about all this stuff you can do to promote sleep. Is just, well, how can I be a good sleeper again? And that is about trusting the body. It's trusting the body to do what it wants to do, what it's capable of doing, and just allowing sleep to happen. And it's about dropping the struggle. Because very often when people get problems, pain is a very good one, but also things like tinnitus and insomnia and problems with eating, people struggle with it. And often the struggle just really contributes to the suffering. And ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, really sort of notices this idea that struggling with a problem, not wanting to have a problem, trying to get rid of a problem, actually creates a whole new layer of suffering, or many extra layers of suffering, over and above the original problem in itself. And also recognizes that if we are able to accept and allow the problem to be there, then often, even though we're not trying to change it because we're accepting it, it actually does change. So acceptance and commitment therapy seemed like a really good fit with what we were trying to achieve. And also, not exactly coincidentally, it's the sort of basis of other areas of our service. So we're sort of predominantly based on an ACT philosophy, if you like. So to carry it over into dealing with sleep would dovetail very nicely with other aspects of our service provision, the psychology input, the physiotherapy input, the nursing input, and so forth. So using ACT principles, which we all have a grounding in, we decided to collaborate with a patient focus group, a bunch of volunteers that we got who'd been through our pain management program, and we devised this program that we were initially going to do as a group intervention over five sessions over 5 weeks. And our measures were going to be, and are still going to be, Pittsburgh Sleep Quality Index, which is a very well-validated self-reported measure, which looks at lots of aspects of sleep quality. So it gives you a really good multidimensional view of how people's sleep is at any point in time. But we also wanted some idea of how people were getting on in terms of acceptance of the problem, acceptance of the sleep difficulty. And the only thing we could find was by Guy Meadows, who has his own ACT-based sleep school online. We have actually now found something that has been validated that we may use instead. So that one's perhaps going to be supplanted with this new one that we found that's just recently been developed and seems very nice, low burden on people in filling it in. It's only 8 items, I think, if I remember right. So all those good intentions were suddenly scuppered when COVID came along, and this meant that we weren't able to do the group in face-to-face intervention that we wanted to do. We did do a short. We did a few sessions basically with the focus group, and we were sort of hammering things out in that way. But even that didn't finish. We had to stop early. So we were sort of thrown back into, well, what do we do now? We decided that, well, the best thing to do is, as everything else, is put it online. So we decided to recreate it as a 7-part online intervention that people could work through. And that began with just a slideshow, and then we looked at the slideshow and we thought, well, it'd be nice to have a bit of a voiceover on that. So we did some voiceover, and then we thought, well, that disembodied voice is a bit disconcerting, really. So we thought it'd be nice to have some visuals of one of us actually doing the presenting the material. So that's what we are now well on the way to completing. We're 10 slides off the full film. We decided to do it ourselves so that we had complete control over the content. We could change it as we wished. It would make it more personal, but it did mean that it was quite a learning curve for us, because we had to learn the process of filming and lighting, and to present without doing so and coming across as a bit of a robot, which is how I started off. But I got better at it. That in itself has been a really interesting process. So we've completely changed the thing that we've done, and as a result, we've got something that actually gives greater choice than we originally had. So our next steps are to complete the filming, as I say, and the editing, and get the thing up on the net. We have got the sample, as you said, Chris, on the web page. There's a 5-minute sample on there. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to give you a sample here because we can't link through to Vimeo. So anyone who wants to have a look, go and have a look at our web page. Once we've completed it, we do want to rerun it with the focus group. And then we want to run it with people who've done the pain management program. That will be our first groups of people, because they'll all already have some ideas of pain management principles and of ACT. So there'll be a good group of people to sort of take it on board. We want to make ultimately a kind of a multi-level intervention. So we'll have the video on its own. We'll have the video plus a live coaching component for people who have bigger barriers to taking on new behaviours. And we'd also like to run it as a face-to-face group as we originally intended, because for some people that's the preference, and also I think you get better group dynamics if you're all in the same room. And we want to be able to make all these options available to any patients in our service, ultimately, at any stage in the process of engagement with us. And possibly even down the line, make it available to anybody in it who might want to tap into it. So our experience of this process of innovation is, well, we started off quite motivated and productive. And then we were hit with the COVID situation, and we were very sort of knocked back onto our back foot. But we regrouped and decided on our new path, which was a little bit daunting, and we were a bit apprehensive about that and challenged by it. But we've done it, and I think the product, it looks all right. I think the fact of having engaged with you guys at Bevan, that has really been a big motor for us to keep us going, and to keep us accountable and moving forwards. I strongly suspect, if we hadn't had that involvement, we'd be still in the doldrums by now, I would think. And in the early stages, one of the great things about engagement with Bevan was the idea that we could do something that was not in the traditional groove was, break out and do something new. It doesn't matter about the evidence base too much, get out and try something, and see where you can go with it. And that was really nice, because you don't often get the opportunity these days. So yeah, that's us. Thank you.